Hi, friends, and welcome to the weekly Wisdom Wednesday podcast. I'm your host, Phil Caffee, for the next few minutes, and I hope that you're enjoying this Thanksgiving week so far and that you're getting ready to eat lots of turkey and enjoy time with family and friends. And even if you're not, I hope that you're enjoying God's many blessings that He's given you and enjoying celebrating the goodness of God. So, I want to talk to you today about how we are in this moment of Thanksgiving, but we tend to want to rush right through it to get to Christmas. It seems like every year our society tries to begin early the celebrations of Christmas, which is it's wonderful to celebrate Christmas, and I love Christmas. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite holidays. Christmas and Easter are my favorite. But I think what we have done as a society is we tend to push uh, heavily towards Christmas, and we forget the here and the now. So I want to read this scripture passage to you today, and I know many of us have heard it before, but I want to reiterate it because I think it's really fitting for the topic here. It's Psalm 118, verse 24, and it says, "This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." And I love that it says, "This is the day." Okay. So yesterday was a day, and tomorrow is a day, but they either have passed or have not come into existence yet. But this is the day that the Lord has made. And so I think a lot of times we push too heavily to want to get through to the next moment that we forget about that this is the day that the Lord has made. We get so excited for Christmas, and I don't know if this is true or not. I'd have to look, but it just seems like we turn on the Christmas music sooner than later, and it gets earlier and earlier every week. Starbucks and other coffee places pull out their holiday drink selections early, and it's like we need to get through the time of Thanksgiving, and I think Thanksgiving is just so important, especially because what I'm learning right now it's the perfect antidote to get through depression. It's the perfect antidote to make for brighter days. It's the perfect antidote to get through anxiety. And I think that in our anxious world right now, we need to focus on gratitude, to have attitudes of gratitude. We need to focus on thanking God for His many blessings He's given to us, and thanking God for everything that's going on around us, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We don't like the ugly, we don't like the bad, but it teaches us lessons. It teaches us perseverance. It teaches us how to get stronger in the midst of trial. And so we thank God for that, that He redeems what has gone wrong in our lives and turns it around for our good. So I think Thanksgiving is certainly something to celebrate. And we seem to be rushing into feeling the joy of Christmas. I've been thinking a lot about this because as a society we like instant gratification. We like to get to that pinnacle moment, that moment of apex where it's fullness of joy, and it's the pinnacle of what we should be about as people, and that's wonderful to celebrate. But in Psalm 16, let me see if I can just pop over there for a second. Psalm 16, verse 11, it says, the psalmist says, "You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore." So the psalmist even says, "In your presence there is fullness of joy." In your presence, God, there is fullness of joy. And I think that we long for that moment of joy. We long for that season of joy, the season of light, hope, joy, and peace that we, as a society, we just want to get there so fast. But we need to realize that right now we can be in the Lord's presence and there is fullness of joy. And I think that we love that instant gratification as a society to get there, but we also need to make preparations to get there. How's our heart? How's our heart to live in a season of Christmas all year long? Are we kind people? Are we praying people? Are we peaceful people? And where does that come from? That comes from living in God's presence day to day, dwelling in His Word, praying, thinking about God, singing hymns and songs to God. This is how we stay in God's presence, and we can radiate that Christmas joy all year long and get to that moment all year long. Um, so I think as a society, we really want to get to that moment of the fullness of joy and to be with family. And it shouldn't just be with a once a year thing, to be kind to our friends and family, and to think about them and to celebrate them, and do, buy them gifts or things like that, or do kind things for them. It should be a year long thing where we are constantly celebrating each other, and not only celebrating each other but celebrating God. I think as a society we've forgotten that the whole holiday season is for Jesus. Jesus is the reason for the season, and I know that phrase has been pushed a lot, but and I think sometimes the things that are uh, the moral compass that is being pushed in society, I think sometimes it gets said so much that it kind of loses its meaning also. That we kind of forget that, that is the reason. Even though we hear it, it's kind of just like another voice. But truly, it is the reason. Jesus is the reason for the season. And we need to celebrate Him. It is Jesus who brings us the fullness of joy, the peace, the love that comes through all of this. But before we get there, let's take some moments and thank God. To thank God. Um, I have been trying something this month, and I've seen it over the past couple of years. It is called um, 30 Days of Gratefulness. And I've started a journal, and and each day it gives you a point. Some days I miss it, but then I just double up the next day. But it gives you a prompt, and then it says, what do you like about this, or what are you grateful about this? Is there or it says, just random things like, what is the color blue? What do you think? What are you grateful for about the color blue? Or name a book that you're grateful for. I think we need to find gratefulness, or things we're thankful for, even in the most small things. God reveals Himself to us, just elements of Himself to us, in the midst of creation. The beauty of the leaves at this time of year just shows the beautiful character of God, the beauty of God. Um, and in the midst of the seasons changing, He never changes. Um, just the beauty of the people and the emotions around us, the music, everything. Just the beauty in the little things should call us to be grateful for them and to celebrate those beautiful things, because each one is an element that shows us who God is. God reveals Himself to us in the midst of all around us, and we need to pay attention to that. And that way we can live in that spirit of joy, peace, and love. And we're thankful for it. So I do think that it is a great thing that Thanksgiving comes before Christmas in our American society. I know that in other um, countries and places of the world, Thanksgiving, if they do have that, is at a different time. But I think it's a blessing that in our society right now it does come before. In the American society, I do think it's a blessing that it comes before Christmas, because I think that sometimes we can be such a consumeristic society. What are you getting this one for Christmas? What are you doing for this one for Christmas? Black Friday deals and all these kinds of sales and Prime Day and etc. And it's like we are missing the mark of what the whole season is about. It's about being thankful, grateful, loving, joyful, kind, peaceful. And we miss that. We miss that. And so I even think if our Christmas giving came from us, the spirit of love and joy and peace and thankfulness for the other person that we're buying things for, our gifts would even mean more. I know I've caught myself sometimes, even in the midst of shopping, that I got to get them something, so I'm just going to find something that's really nice, not too cheap looking or whatever, but something that's nice so that it's done and it's over with. And I try to be really intentional, but sometimes you miss that. And so I think sometimes if we think about the person, what are we thankful about that person? How can we best love that person? How can we best provide joy for that person? Essentially, how can we best service Christ to that person? And I think that our gifts would mean a lot more if we did it that way. And so also, if we focus on gratefulness, we will be much more joyful people. It's something that I'm learning right now. It's a tough thing to learn because sometimes, some days you really just don't feel like being grateful. You really just don't feel like looking at something and saying, I am grateful for this thing, no matter how good, bad, or ugly it is. That's a hard thing. That's super hard. But it's here, and let's just have God use it, and let's see what we can learn from it. Through every trial, you can learn something from every test there's a testimony, and so from every mess there's a message. And so I really just think that we need to be more grateful people as a society. Gratefulness is the perfect antidote to bring about joy, authentic joy. You can slap a smile on if you're a good actor, and sooner rather than later, people will figure it out that you're not being authentic. It's something I've been learning is true authenticity. Just because they slap a smile on does not mean that they are joyful people. People's actions speak a whole lot louder than words, and I'm learning that. I'm continuing to learn that that people just kind of act, and acting does not get you very very far. It's what's in the heart, and people realize what's in your heart. People will figure out what's in your heart if you get around people long enough and you kind of get to know their heart. You'll realize where their joy stems from, if they have any joy at all. You'll realize where their joy stems from, and you'll realize if they're being authentic people. So this is the day that the Lord has made. And I do think that we need to think about that with each and every day. I know that I get caught up in it, thinking about tomorrow. But hey, you know what? Even Jesus said, in Matthew chapter 6:34, he says, therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Jesus said, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. I have been all my life, for the majority of it, I have been a worrywart, and it's something I'm trying to unlearn. And I think that we need to remember, and we can even get anxious about Christmas time. I don't have my shopping done. I don't have this done. I got to do this. I got to put up the tree. I got to put up the decorations. I got to get ready for this program. I got to, and it's like Jesus said, don't be anxious for it. Okay, it's not here yet. That doesn't mean we shouldn't plan for things, but don't be anxious about it. He'll get you there. I mean, you have to do the work, but he'll get you there. It'll be okay. It's not like you're going to avoid it all and not do any of it. Some people do that, but the majority of us don't. I mean, we'll get the work done. But Jesus even says, don't get anxious about tomorrow. And I'd like to think that he was even telling us to maybe even be grateful for today. be grateful for today. It's there's something in today that we are given breath to recognize the Lord in, and we need to take the time to recognize that, so we can be grateful for it. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Um, and that's, if you know English enough, that's kind of a command. In fact, it is a command. It says, "This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad." Let us do it. Let us rejoice and be glad. No matter what's going on around us, let's be grateful for it, and let us rejoice and be glad. Hey, times are tough nowadays. Times are tough. Things cost a lot. Um, you know, people don't always. They're well. People are sensitive sometimes nowadays. People are quick to get offended, and we need to learn to rejoice and be glad no matter what is going on. Okay, and I think that by doing that, if we follow one of these principles that God has said, we're going to have a better world. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. God is sovereign. I know it's a big fancy word, but God oversees everything that's going on. Okay, and there's nothing that goes on that is out of his eyes. He knows and sees it all, and he knows that you need to be taken care of. He knows that the things around you need to be taken care of, and he'll see it through what needs to get done. So Jesus says, don't be anxious about tomorrow. Don't be anxious about tomorrow. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. Each day the sun rises, and if you're given breath, you have purpose. So friends, I'm going to leave you with the psalm one more time. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So friends, be thankful. I'm so glad you've tuned in today. Thanks for listening, and I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you've enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with a friend. And I hope you tune in again next week for the weekly Wisdom Wednesday podcast. Thanks so much, friends, and happy Thanksgiving, and have a blessed week and weekend. Thanks so much.